Hi there, thanks for joining me. My name is Lisa. Welcome to Critters'n Ink Designs. Today we're going to do this really cute double pop-up card that I saw on a demonstrator's page, and when I researched it, the video that I found was done in German. Well, actually, there wasn't any dialogue. It was a German demonstrator. And she had, the card was 5 by 5, and I wanted to do it in a regular sized card, so I could just use my regular envelope. So I did a little bit of math, and I converted it to a regular card size. Isn't that cute? Oh, you can't even see this. Isn't that cute? And then I did this one yesterday, thinking I was videoing, and actually I wasn't. So here we are today. Isn't that cute? I just love this. So today we're going to do this card in Highland Heather, and I'm going to be using the hand-penned designer series paper. And actually, you know what? I'm going to switch to my desk view because I think that will be easier. There. Yeah, that's easier. So this is the designer series paper called Hand Penned. And there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different designs. Isn't that pretty? And this can be found in the annual catalog. And during celebration, which comes, it starts on August the 3rd. There is actually a free designer series paper that coordinates with this. Actually, let me see if I can find it. So my pre-order came today. So if you're not familiar with celebration, Stampin' Up rewards you in Canada for every $60 purchased. You get to choose something out of this little catalog. Now I'm not allowed to show you what's inside of it, but I can, oddly enough, I can show you what I have here. So this is the designer series paper that coordinates with the hand pen designer series paper. This one is called Beautifully Penned, and this is free with a $60 purchase, and you get, it's all black and white. Aren't they pretty? So you can use these to coordinate with the hand-penned designer series paper. Now, if you placed an order with me in the last 6 months, you should be receiving one of these and the new mini catalog in the mail anytime now. I'm not sure when they got shipped from Calgary, but I was billed for it for a couple of weeks ago, so hopefully you'll be receiving them anytime now. I got mine. My own copies came about a week ago. All right, so I'm going to put all this aside, and today I'm going to use this this DSP with the blue in it. But I'm going to pick up the Highland Heather. Okay, so I'm just going to put that aside and grab my paper trimmer. So for the card, I'm going to need 4 pieces of designer series paper, and they're all 5 3/8 inch wide, or not wide, long. So I'm going to cut my first piece at 5 3/8. Now, if you notice, this is, I'm going to put that light back on. This is directional. And on my card, I want my flowers to be standing upright. So I need my 5 3/8 to be going this way. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Oops, wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to line this up at 5 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to go 5 3/8. And I'm just going to use my dark blade, which is the cutting blade. And I'm just going to cut that and put that one aside for another card. And then I'm going to turn it this way, and I need one piece that's 3 inches wide. And I need one piece that's 2 3/4. And I need another piece that's 4 1/8. And another piece that is 1 inch. Now sometimes cutting 1 inch can be a little awkward, so what I'm going to do is, if you look on this side, you have a 1 inch here and you have a 1 inch here. It's easier sometimes to use the 1 inch on this side. So I'm just going to line my edge up with the 1 inch. Make sure I'm straight. And then just cut that, and there's my 1 inch strip for that. And then don't throw this out, because you can use it for another card. You know, never throw out your little pieces, because you'd be amazed what you can do with them. So that's my designer series paper. And now I'm going to cut out my cardstock. Now normally when I'm making cards, I very seldom just make one card. So if I was making this as my card base, I usually cut out 5 or 6, well, not 5 or 6 because they're in 2s, but I like 6 or 8 at a time. So normally what I would do is I would line this up on the 8 1/2 side. Half of 8 1/2 is 4 1/4. So I would just run my scoring blade, which is the lighter colored one, right down the middle, and you can see that my paper is scored here. Now, I'm only going to be using one half of this for my card. Well, I'm going to use all of it for my card, but I'm going to use half of it for, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make 2 card bases. So I'm going to cut this. This is 11. Half of 11 is 5 1/2. So I'm going to cut. So now I have 2 card bases. And I'm just going to grab another piece of Highland Heather, because I need to make all of my pieces for my mechanism and my other stuff. Okay, so what I need for here, I could actually just use pieces of scrap, but I've used up all my scraps making up my other samples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 2-inch strip. For my mechanism, I need a piece of cardstock that's 5 by 2. So I'm going to cut this 2 by 5. And keep this. You can use this for your sentiment later. So I'm going to, so that's my 2 by 5. And I also need 2 that are 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And what else do I need? Okay, that's it. And then I need basic white of my Whisper White here, and I need 2 pieces that are, how big is that? It's 5 1/4. So I actually need one that's 5 1/4 by 2 5/8. And I also need 2 pieces that are 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. 2 1/8 is right there. And 2 1/8. 2 1/8. I think that's everything. Oh, no, I still have to score. I forgot to score my Highland Heather. So this is my mechanism. So I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. And just like when you're cutting small bits like this, it's so much easier than trying to do it like this and have it move, right? So I'm going to use the 1/2 inch on this side. So I'm going to line my cardstock up with the 1/2 inch on this side, and I'm going to use the lighter colored of my blades. That's my scoring blade. And I'm going to do 1/2 inch on both sides. And then from one side, it doesn't matter which, you're going to score it at 3 1/4. And then I'm going to measure, I'm going to put this out of the way for a second. I'm going to grab a pencil. I'm going to measure 1.5 inches from the first score line. Okay, so from this score line to here, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches. So I just have my handy dandy square ruler. These are great. I just got this on Amazon. It's the best thing ever because it keeps you straight. So 1 3/4. No, sorry, 1.5. Did I say 1 3/4 before? 1.5 and 1.5. And I'm gonna put these measure. I'm gonna have like a template on my blog. All right. So what I want to do is I want to line up this pencil mark. Right? Where's my, there. This pencil mark with this score line. The one that's the 1/2 inch. So basically what we're doing is we're going to create a crisscross right here. Okay? So I'm going to line that up like this. So I've got my score line is right there. My pencil mark is right there. Oop, get that blade out of there. And I'm just going to score that. And then I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. So I'm going to line up the score line with my pencil mark. There's my pencil mark. There's my score line. Okay. And that's what you should have, kind of like a starry kind of a thing. Can you see that? Yeah. So this creates your mechanism for the cards to flip. All right. So I'm going to grab my bone folder and I'm going to just burnish my fold marks. Okay, so now I'm going to push these in and you should end up with like a little house. Okay, so you've got your flap that you're going to glue on this side and then your flap that you're going to glue on this side. Now at this fold line, you're going to take the ruler and it's 2 inches wide, so I'm going to mark out 1 inch right on that score line. But I want to do it so that I can see it from the front because it's going to matter in a minute. There. Okay, so we're going to create the card. So line up my raw edges and I'm going to burnish my score line there. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my largest piece of the designer series paper and I'm going to lay that right on the inside of the card like this. Isn't that pretty? See, almost put that upside down. This is directional, so you want to make sure that it's correct. So how I line this up, let me just zoom a bit. How I line this in up, is before I stick it down, I try to make sure that all of my margins are the same. So at the bottom and on the right and left, all of my margins are the same, and that will give you a centered piece, okay? So now what I want to do is, this piece is 5.5 this way, so that half of 5.5 is 2 3/4. I think that's where I got the 2 3/4 before. So 2 3/4. So I want to mark here, right on the score line, 2 3/4. And then this is where a ruler comes in really, a square ruler comes in really handy. But if you don't have one, then just go further down and measure again 2 3/4. And I'm using pencil so that I can erase it if I have to. Okay, so 2 3/4. So there's my, I can make a little, there's my pencil mark there. I can make like a little reference mark here, because what I want to do is from this end, I'm going to mark across the entire card at 7 inches. Oh, look at that, I was right on it. So there's my 7 inches. Okay, and what I want to do is take this mark and line it up with this mark when I glue it, just like that. Okay, so I'm matching the halfway point to this to the halfway point of the card. All right, so I'm just going to grab some liquid glue for this. Now, my first card that I made, I didn't use liquid glue. I just used the Stampin' seal. And to be honest, it didn't hold up. So I decided that from now on, I'm going to use liquid glue. So the other ones that I've made, I've used liquid glue and they work just fine. So I'm going to fold it under, and I'm going to, where's my mark? Line up those two marks, and you want to make sure that this is straight. If this isn't straight this way, when you go to work the mechanism, it'll get stuck. There. Okay, and then next I'm just going to pop my silicone mat under there because I don't want to get glue on the back of my card. And I'm just going to put a little bit of time for a new bottle of glue, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to put enough glue there to hold it. And then, are you stuck? Yes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up my little house, and then I'm going to just bring the front forward and press on there. So obviously you don't want to saturate your flap with glue because you don't want it oozing out. I have a little bit of glue oozing out there, so get rid of that. There. Okay. There, beautiful. Okay. So now we can continue to decorate. No, you know what? The first thing we're going to do is this, because I found it difficult. The first one I made, I actually didn't put these little squares here in the mechanism first, and I found it a little bit awkward because the DSP was over my fold and I couldn't really see what I was doing. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to round my corners. This is optional. I just like the look of it. So I'm using my Trio Punch, which is in the annual catalog. This is a great little punch. It's got the corner rounder. See how it rounded my corner? And it's got a little hole punch. Let me see if I can find a little. So it's got a line here that you line up. So if you were making, say, a tag or something and you wanted a hole in it, see that? I just centered that line to the middle of my little piece of cardstock and created a hole for a ribbon. And then the other side is really cute too. It is a little, it's more designed for corners. And it gives you this little cute corner embellishment. Sweet, eh? Okay, oh yeah, I was doing corners. I'm easily distracted these days. So I'm just going to do all 4 corners of all 4 pieces. So I'm going to do the Highland Heather and the basic white. Now again, this is optional, but I do like a rounded corner. So this Whisper White, the Highland Heather is 2 1/4 by 2 1/4, and the Whisper White is 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. And the reason I did that was so that I would just have a little smidgen all the way around, like a little, just a tiny border. Okay. All right, so you never stick anything before you stamp it. Ask me how I know. So in here, I'm going to make this a thank you card. So for the inside, it's going to say thank you for everything. And this sentiment is from, what did I do with my, oh yeah. It is from the Color and Contour stamp set. And it has in better days ahead, you're absolutely amazing, here for you now, so very happy for you, and thank you for everything. So we're going to use you're absolutely amazing and thank you for everything. Okay, let's see, I'm going to use Highland Heather, and I'm just going to grab a piece of paper to stamp off on. I'll just use this one. I use this one for my other one. So I'm going to I just managed to stick my thumb in there. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that that is straight. Beautiful. Just glue that to that. And then on this one, I'm going to stamp this floral, which is this floral here. It's very similar to the hand penned stamps, which mine has not arrived yet. But I had this one, and it's very similar to the hand penned. So I thought, well, I'll use that one until my other one comes. So I want to put this on here, but I'm going to stamp off first because I just want a lighter version. Okay, and that's going to go on the other square. I'm going to stick a bit more glue under here. I kind of missed that corner. Okay, so now we can go ahead and create this mechanism. Let me get this out of here because for sure I'll stick something in it. Okay, so we're only going to put glue in these little triangles here. Okay, just these 2 triangles. And don't be over exuberant with your glue, because if it oozes out and sticks to your card, you won't be a happy camper. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here. So you just want to place your glue away from your fold, just in case it does get a little bit oozy. You don't want it oozing into your card. because this glue is fabulous, the multi-purpose glue, but it does leave a sticky residue. Now, remember before I said we wanted to make sure that we could still see that little pencil mark, okay? The reason for that is you want to place this away from this fold by about 1/16 of an inch and away from that pencil mark about 1/16 of an inch. And it was my experience that if I didn't have it over away from this little score line here, that it just didn't seem to close properly. Okay, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue here. And the same thing with this one. I'm going to, oops, I was a little bit close there. I'm going to move that over. And then again, I want to be 1/16 of an inch above that pencil mark, okay? So I'm going to there's my pencil mark. You can see it in there. This way too, you gotta make sure that you're straight. Your two pieces are straight. And that's another reason I like using the liquid glues, because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you kind of screw it up a little bit. There, I'm gonna let that sit for just a moment. So while that's drying, I'm going to take my other two pieces that I cut of the designer series paper. And again, you want to make sure that it is facing the right way if it's directional. If it's not directional, then obviously it doesn't matter. But if it's not directional, no problem. So this is going to go right basically up to that corner of the mechanism, and I'm just a little too high there. Okay, and then this part, and that's why I cut them the way I did too, because see how that matches up? But what I want to do here is just have the glue in this little, I forget what you call that shape, the little house shape. So I'm just going to come across like this. Come on, glue. And again, not too close to the edge, because you don't want it oozing over into your fold, because then it won't, if it dries with that in there, guess what? You'll have a disaster on your hands. So now I want to line this up, matching the bottoms, right, and the tops as well. Okay. We're going to let that sit for just a sec. Now, one thing I didn't do, which I should have done, oh, we'll have to see how it goes, because I kind of screwed up a little bit there. I forgot to stamp this. Can't believe I did that. Okay, so we're going to do that now. So I'm just going to randomly stamp this design. So I'm using Highland Heather paper and Highland Heather ink. It seems to be stamping okay. Ideally, you really do want to do this before you glue anything to the back, because that could affect, you know, how it stamps out. I'm going, you know what I'm going to do is I am just going to put this here in case my, there, because I don't want it to, oh, this is what I meant here. You can see that, you know, because there's gluey pieces underneath. It changes the terrain of the how am I going to do that? I'm just going to fold this over. I don't want it to stamp over my, there. Okay. So that's okay. I can live with that. I can't believe I forgot to do that. That's the first thing I should have done. So in the meantime, this stuff has all had time to dry. And there we have our little design. Isn't that nifty? Ah, love it. Okay, so on here, we have another piece of Whisper White. Now this is 100% your choice. If you wanted to be able to write a little note other than just writing your name on here, you can absolutely glue this piece of basic white. And this measures 5 1/4 by 2 5/8 if you want to have this as an option. And I do kind of want to have, I always like putting a little note. So I'm going to ink up my flower, but I'm going to stamp it off and then just plunk a flower sort of halfway in. Okay. And then I'm going to glue this on that middle panel. Again, 100% optional. I guess they're all optional. It's your card, your design. You do whatever floats your boat. And there. So now I have a place to write my sentiment or my, you know, hello, how are you? Been thinking of you, whatever. Okay, and then on the front, this is the 1-inch piece that I cut earlier. Now this is 5 3/8. Ideally, I should have cut it 5 1/2, but it was the leftovers from the 5 3/8 that I used for the other pieces of the designer series paper, so it's fine. I'm just going to glue that onto here and just make sure that I'm even top and bottom so that it looks like it's supposed to. And then for my sentiment, I'm going to use my scraps left over from when I cut my other pieces. And the sentiment that I wanted to use was, "You are amazing," from the Color and Contour stamp set. So it's, "You are absolutely amazing." This one here. And I'm going to do that in the Highland Heather again. The first thing I should do is just make sure that my die is going to fit. So the die, what I'm using for my sentiment today are the diorama dies. Is that going to fit on there? Eugh, it's not. Okay, let me grab another piece that's a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's going to fit on there. Okay, perfect. So the diorama dies are in the annual catalog, which is here. And the layering diorama. So they're on page 12. And they are these dies to make like a, well, to make a diorama. Okay, and there's 3 different sizes. So you have the 2 small ones, which is what I'm using today. And so the 2 small ones, and then there's 2 kind of medium-ish ones. And then when you put them together, you can rotate them and have them different shapes. They're fun. I actually made this card, page 12, for my stepdaughter's birthday. So I just cased this one right out of the catalog and made that for Liz's birthday, which was last week, but they're coming this weekend with the new baby, so I can't wait. And then there's the 3 large ones. 3 larger ones. Okay. So these are great. You don't have to just use them for the diorama. You can use them for all sorts of different clouds or whatever floats your boat. So I'm going to use these 2 today, and I'm going to use the smaller one for the sentiment, and then the larger of the 2 small ones I'm going to use for a background, excuse me, behind the sentiment. So I want to center that so that I make sure I have enough room for the die, which I do. Yep, fits beautifully. So for this, I'm going to just use my mini cutter. If you have the little one, these dies will fit in there. Obviously, you can use them on your regular cutter too, but this was handy and I keep it on my desk. These are available in the annual catalog as well. So I'm just going to run that through like this. All right. So I think, okay, so that's that. But I think for this, I'm just going to close this because sure as heck I'm going to get something in it. I think for the background, I'm going to grab a piece of gorgeous grape. Yep, that'll fit okay. So don't throw your scraps out, keep them. You can always use them for little bits here and there. Okay, so I'm just going to place that on there. Got my all right. Okay, I'll just put these out of the way. Okay, so we use the 2 smallest, and I'm going to just glue this onto here. Should I do it that way or should I do it kind of wonky-ish? Oh, you know what? I think I'll do it kind of wonky on this one. Looks a bit sort of retro-ish, doesn't it? Okay, I'm just going to grab some, oh my god, I just went blank, dimensionals. We're going to put these on with dimensionals on the front. I don't know what I was going to call them. It wasn't dimensionals though. I have no idea. Oh, while I think of it, I just want to thank everyone who participated in my paper share. The paper came out today and it's already been sorted and packaged and ready for either pickup or the ones that are being mailed are being mailed. I was hoping to get to the post today, but I don't think it's going to happen. So it'll get posted tomorrow morning. So there's our card, and of course it needs a little bit of bling. Can't have a card without bling. And ribbon. What did I do with my ribbon? Alright, so I have some Highland Heather ribbon here. If you don't have any Highland Heather and you just have the white crinkled, the Whisper White ribbon here, I didn't have any mint macaron ribbon for this card. So I just used the Whisper White ribbon and the mint macaron Stampin' Blends. It's an alcohol-based marker, and it permanently marks your ribbon. So if you don't have a matching ribbon, you can just easily make your own with a white ribbon anytime. So I do have this Highland Heather, and I believe, not sure what this was from. I'm not sure if it's still available, but if not, you know what, go ahead and make your own. There's Gorgeous Grape sheer ribbon this year, and the Highland Heather grosgrain ribbon, but I think this one, it's 1/2 inch. I think it would be a little bit too wide, but here is the white crinkled seam binding ribbon on page 139, and that's what I use when I don't have the matching ribbon that I need. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use this Highland Heather ribbon that I do have, but if you don't have one, by all means, you know, just use your white ribbon and your alcohol markers and you're off to the races. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that's flat. My desk is a disaster. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to grab a glue dot and, oops, my camera fell. Grab a glue dot and put that right there. And then for bling, what's I gonna use for my blingy bling bling? Oh, these. So in the annual catalog, these are the silver and clear epoxy essentials. They are so cute. So you have silver ones and clear ones. And I use the silver ones on the mint macaron. I think I'm going to use the clear ones on the Highland Heather. It's amazing what a little bit of, it's not even blingy, it's just a little crystally, just that tiny little bit gives it some personality. Love it. And there's our card. Beautiful. So that's our card. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I've really enjoyed it. And now that my quilting has geared down a little bit and my store, we're on our way to closing our quilt shop. We've decided to retire from that. So I have a little bit more time to invest in my Stampin' Up business because I've really not had a lot of time and I've really missed it. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And I will have a list of all the products that I used in the comments below. I do hope you've enjoyed this, and if there's anything I can help you with, don't hesitate to give me a call at crittersandinc.com. And have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye for now.